Lycoris Recoil is a fully original anime about orphan high schoolers stopping terrorism in Japan before it even happens. Yep, that checks out like an anime to me. Regardless, originally I heard about Lycoris Recoil a little while after it came out in 2022, and I threw it on my long list of shows I'll watch someday. Anime girls with guns has never really been my cup of tea, so it did take me a while to get to it, but after Attack on Titan's finale, I needed a pick-me-up kind of show, and I figured this would do perfectly. So, at long last, I bravely threw on the first episode, and I had a pretty damn good time with it. Some decent fun, charming characters, assassins, and a hint of some cool spy stuff buried within. Lycoris kinda did surprise me, honestly. Not in the sense that I was expecting it to be bad or anything, but it's a bit of a slow burn, taking its time to let you settle in with the characters and world. It took me some time to get fully into it, but I think it's one of those shows that really does just get better with every episode. That being said, while it's not perfect, after finishing the first season, I was left pretty impressed, and I definitely wanted more. With some amazing animation that didn't let up the whole show, Lycoris Recoil had a little bit of everything. It had some really dark and really wholesome moments, some romance, super fun action the whole way through, and a seriously awesome villain. So, I think it's about time we hop into spoilers, so get the fuck out of here and watch it. But come back, please. Let's start out with our two main characters, Takina and Chisato. These two were a pretty damn fun duo, with Takina being the cold and serious one, and Chisato being the optimistic badass type. While the whole opposite personality partners is a trope that's certainly been done many times before, I think Lycoris does it quite well. When you have a character like Takina, for example, the arc they usually go through is something along the lines of, I start out all stern and slowly let my guard down through the season. While Takina does kinda go through this, I give the show credit because this arc only really takes 4 episodes before she really starts opening up like normal. Instead, we watch her learn not to be dog water at rock paper scissors against Chisato. Takina doesn't really have much life experience, so Chisato's attempts to show her a fun time ended up being pretty damn cute. The relationship with them builds quite naturally and is a nice breath of fresh air to anime relationships. While it was a small moment, I really loved this part in particular. No big crazy reaction or anything like that, just a really cute moment between the two characters. Chisato was the big highlight for me. Her personality is simply contagious. You can't help but crack a few smiles just by watching her on screen. Her actions make even more sense in context with the backstory we learn through the season. Chisato was born with a congenital heart disease, which, as a result, shortened her lifespan. Her life, however, was saved by both Shinji and Mika years ago, with an artificial heart provided to her by the mysterious Allen Institute. Eventually, we arrive at episode 8, which is one of my favorites. Here we get the long-awaited radio tower flashback, showing that Chisato has always been an absolute beast. But we also see that Majima is no goon either, revealing his own pendant from the Allen Institute alongside his super hearing. Rather than a straight-up fight, we had the two of them almost mistakenly bond over Die Hard and make some coffee. Which I really didn't expect, but I really ended up loving it. Speaking of which, let's have a little chat about this green-haired goofball. Deku's dad, I mean Majima. A man set on bringing balance to Japan. Alright, so let me be real with you here. His initial appearance and design definitely inspired some serious villain of the week vibes in me. And in that regard, I think I really underestimated him. Especially after Mans took a fucking rocket. Majima's codes and the way he thinks are what made him especially interesting though. He believes that Japan is unbalanced, and that DA hiding and covering up the ugly things is wrong. Sounds familiar. His main goal is to expose DA and reveal to the people that things are not as perfect as DA wants them to believe. By the end, his plan was somewhat foiled, but it's hard to say if Majima really lost. The streets of Japan are now loaded with guns, and doubt has been sown in people's minds. I thought the "oh, it was just a game show" bit was kinda goofy, and I was sitting there like, would anyone really believe this? And to be totally fair, some people didn't. I think a breakdown of the power structure in Japan with DA is inevitable after Majima has hit the first proper crack at it since the original radio tower incident. I'm sure Majima would back on some level in the future of this series, and in my opinion, with Chisato's idea of they're only our enemy today, and Majima's always fighting for the underdog, It would be perfect to see them team up in the future. And it was even teased a little bit in the last episode. Something like this would fit the show's themes perfectly. You put Chisato, Takina, and the rest of the gang in a really interesting spot, either needing or begrudgingly accepting the help from a straight-up terrorist dickhead like Majima. Something I really loved too was Chisato's dual father situation with Mika and Shinji. Mika wants her to grow up how she wants to, letting her make her own decisions and living exactly how she wants, while Shinji wants her to grow up as some insane hitman, which is obviously why he offered to save her to begin with. Throughout the season, we see Chisato refer to Mika as teach or teacher many times, and it seems like he takes up that role, gently guiding her but leaving her room to make her own decisions. In episode 10, Mika reveals that he's been struggling with the fact that he originally only saved her for his own gain in DA. That, alongside his promise with Shinji to raise her as a great hitman, Mika clearly has been holding in some serious guilt, and we see the breakdown of that in the cafe scene. After Chisato's heart is sabotaged and her days greatly numbered, Mika decides to give her the coming-of-age kimono he's been saving for her, knowing full well she's no longer going to make it that long. This was both tragic and beautiful, as well as being a perfect transition into Mika fully accepting Chisato as a daughter, and as well as her accepting him as her father. Shinji, being part of the Allen Institute, saw great promise in Chisato, and wanted her to live her fullest potential as a hitman. According to Shinji himself, members of the Allen Institute are not meant to divulge their benefactor status to the people they save, as well as not to interfere or meddle in the lives of Allen's children just because they're not going as planned. However, we clearly see that Shinji is back to push Chisato to kill, by whatever means necessary, to the point where he puts the new artificial heart inside of himself, trying to force her to kill him. In the end though, Mika is the one who makes the choice to pull the trigger for her, firmly getting the title of Not Shitty Anime Dad, which is a pretty rare title. Season 1 ends on a strong note. With a fantastic final episode, our characters are out in Hawaii running a mobile cafe, with seemingly full independence from DA, and it looks like they're just taking on jobs from people in need. This leaves the show in an interesting spot going forward, with many guns left on the streets of Japan and Majima still out there roaming free somewhere. I do have to wonder how they'll tie all these things back to our main cast, especially with them so far away. It's still a bit unclear on what exactly is coming next for Lycoris, but whatever it may be, I'm just ready and waiting to hop on the next roller coaster with our fun little gang. Hey there. If you stuck around all the way to the end, I just want to give you, yes, you, a special little thanks. This took me quite a long time, as I have no idea how to properly lay out a video like this, so I'm just kind of winging it. Really didn't want to call this a review, because it's kind of not. I just like talking about stuff I like, so I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, I didn't talk about everything, otherwise this would be 18 hours, but please tell me what parts you liked about Lycoris. I'd really love to hear it. Either way, I'm super proud with how this turned out, and I'm excited to hop into the next thing. I really hope to see you there. Adios!